Hi, this is Rossi Eason from the Restore Black America Foundation. And once again, for those of you that have been following us, you know that we like to conduct interviews that are focused on the 6 topics that are outlined in the Restore Black America book, which are culture, economics, politics, family, health, and spirituality. Today's interview, however, is going to be on the topic of restoring black family. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy about the state of the black family, but however, one of the things that we know is that at the core of a healthy family is really a healthy relationship. So today we're going to talk about healthy relationships and some of the basic things that you would need to know before considering anything further. So today I have a very special guest by the name of General Hafeezah, who also goes by the title of the Relationship Guru. Now, General Hafeezah is a public speaker, relationship coach, and the author of a workbook series, Before You Say I Do, which is a set of about 300 questions that you should ask your mate before you say I do. So without further ado, General Hafeezah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yay! Audience coming in.
That's funny. This is a great introduction. Well, before we get into the relationship questions, would you mind starting out just by telling us a little bit about yourself as far as your personal, professional background and also what led you to write the book?
Well, what led me to write the book is a series of good and bad relationships. I thought I'd take some lemons and make lemonade out of it, and taking the bad experiences that I've had or the things that I did not do correctly and having learned from that experience, that helped me a lot. Also, for many years, for over 20 years, I've been a rape victim advocate. And I've worked with women who have suffered from different domestic assault. I've been kind of involved with human services all of my life. So after having a couple or 2 or 3 failed marriages, I realized that there were some things that I did not do correctly during the courtship or dating process. And one of those things was gathering information, the proper background information on the person. And we both know that it can be wonderful when you're in that feeling or you're in that honeymoon period with the person, and everything seems wonderful on an emotional level. But what we never really do is get down to brass tacks, business, and things that are legal. And it's important to do that, and that's what I learned from my bad experience. So I decided to create a workbook set called Before You Say I Do, His and Hers. There's 2 separate workbook sets, and 2 separate books, and it allows for questions to be in writing. So that means that while you're going through the courtship process, you're sitting down with the person and writing it out. So that's what started the ball rolling on, and it's the only set of its kind. I mean, they have books where they ask questions, but nothing where you write the answers out and can review the answers later and remove the emotionalism out of it.
Oh, no, most definitely. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I definitely wanted to get you on today, because I think you have a really interesting concept and one that we, like you said, really hasn't been done before, not from that perspective. But one more question as far as your introduction. I'm just curious, where did you get the name General from?
Actually, I went to California at least about 18 years ago, and I studied under Les Brown. You might know Les Brown.
Yes,
very popular, famous motivational speaker. He had his own television show. He was also married to Gladys Knight. He's just a phenomenal human being, and he still does his work and still trains people in speaking. So when I went to California and trained with him many years ago, I did a speech there, and he referred to me as the General. He said, wow, you know, you're fantastic. You're out there. You command your audience. You just like lead an army. You're the General. And he kind of named me that, so that stuck.
Oh, okay. Well, good deal. No, that's an excellent story behind that. Okay, well, hey, I want to jump right into some questions about relationships. Now, as you know, the first step in the beginning of any relationship, you know, aside from that basic natural attraction is the selection process. And when it comes to selecting the right mate or potential mate, what are some of the basic things that someone should look for when selecting a potential mate? And the reason why I'm asking is because I feel like we're in, let's say, such a superficial time where the only thing we go by is how good someone looks or maybe how much money they have or whatever, which, yeah, both admittedly are important, but there has to be a much more in-depth thought process or qualification process when selecting a mate. So could you give us maybe some basic things that maybe both men and women should be looking at when first selecting or qualifying a mate?
Well, the first thing we need to understand is that there are some things that just are innate with us as male and female. You know, males usually do look for something appealing to the eye. So it's natural for them to be attracted to the physical aspect. As far as women are concerned, women are thinking of reproduction. Women are thinking of family. Women are thinking of security. So when they're looking at a man, they're going to look for different things than men are going to look for. A woman may not be as in tune with how he looks as much as how much he can be a provider and a protector. Those are the natural instincts of a woman, to look for a provider and a protector. So if a man, she's going to be attracted to the man if she can feel like she can be protected by him physically and she can be provided to him. A man, he's going to look for beauty, something that's attractive to his eye, and that's natural. So we shouldn't be upset when people are going in their natural flow. Now, for longevity, we have to understand that we're going to need to look for things that we have in common, because as the beauty, the physical beauty may fade over the years. You don't want the man to lose his attraction because the physical beauty has faded. And as his income may decline, you don't want the woman to pull back because he no longer has the money or can provide for her the way he did. So there's going to have to be other things that are going to keep the two of you together through the ups and downs, the hard times, and the law of gravity that happens to women's breasts. So you're going to have to, that's a real law, isn't it? Hallelujah, the law of gravity. So you're going to have to find some other things that you're attracted to. Do we have some things in common? Do we have some beliefs? How do we function when we get angry? And I tell people that when you are courting, it's real important that at some point you need to see the other person when they don't get their way. Because Lord knows we're all wonderful as long as we're getting our way. But how do you behave when you hear the answer no? You know, as long as you're telling somebody yes, they're phenomenal. But when you tell them no, how they behave with a no will tell you more about the person's character. So those are some of the things that we need to look deeper into. How do they act when they don't get what they want? Do you find that they disconnect from you? A common thing that I've found in interviewing so many women is that men have a tendency to kind of go in a shell. In other words, they won't answer the phone. They won't answer the text message. You know, they say, well, I'll figure she'll get it, you know. And that's kind of, for a woman, what she sees when she sees that is cowardly behavior. And then she'll lose interest because she's looking for that person to stand up, own up to whatever is going on and not kind of put a distance between them. You know, you don't want a woman who's not going to communicate and walk around angry and just hoping that you figure it out, because communication is the key. So one of the key factors when you're looking for somebody is how well do they communicate? Because I don't call cussing and fussing communicating. That's not communicating. So how well do they express their thoughts? That's going to be very important for longevity.
Okay. No, that's an excellent answer. Now, I want to, as you know, we're kind of talking about selection and things, and I want to try to throw out some examples maybe that are that pertain to our community. So let's say, for example, and this is just a common example that we see, especially, I know we do have some younger people that listen, and this will probably be prevalent to them. So let's say, for example, a young lady and a young guy are interested in each other, and you know, let's say the guy is involved in street life and he says he wants to change or whatever, and the girl knows that she doesn't want that life. However, everything else about his personality seems to be perfect. When it comes to qualifications, should she still give him a chance in hopes that he'll change, or is it naive of her to think that?
Well, I'm glad you said that we're talking about young people, because when we're talking about young people, there is room for change and room for growth. You know, and the younger you are, the more room there is for change and growth. People that are 40 and up, they kind of get a little bit more set in their ways. They kind of get a little bit more decided about what they want and what things they're not willing to compromise. When people are younger And
you're listening to an exclusive interview found on RestoreBlackAmerica.org. That's RestoreBlackAmerica.org.
And, you know, you have a young couple, and they're starting out, and the woman says, well, you know what? I see a lot of potential in this man. He has all of these other things. I'm going to work with him. Because the purpose of the woman anyway is to help take that man to the next level. You know, she's his backup, his support, and she helps take him to the next level, and she does it by kind of refining him. You know, women are, it's a woman's role to kind of take a house and make it a home, because what she does is she puts refinement in there. She adds the class. She's the one who cares about whether or not the dishes match the silverware and the curtains match the carpet or things. You know, a man, I just want a roof over my head or someplace to sleep. Very, very basic. Right. But women come in and they refine a man and they upgrade him. That's what she's for. And if she wants to assist that man by upgrading him, by helping him along to learn to be a better man, then that's what she should do. And I think she should give him a chance. But she should also have standards. And if she says, I do not want the street life, then she has a right to decide that she's not going to take risk, because we all know that the street life has risk. Am I right?
Definitely.
Right. And she may decide, hey, listen, I'm not going to risk my life. Now, I will help you along if you're going to do the right thing. But I'm not going to step in and assist you in doing wrong, because I don't plan on coming to see you in jail. And I'm not posting any bond money. And so she needs to set up some standards herself.
No, that's good.
No bond money here.
No, definitely. And she, considering, like you said, I like what you said about, you know, young people have room for change. In a situation like that, what do you think about a timeline? Do you think that that's something that makes sense? So it's like, okay, hey, you know, if you said this, then I'll give you a chance up until this point. Or do you think that's too mechanical? What do you think about that?
No, I don't. I think that, you know, you express your ideas, you express what you want in a relationship with the person, and then you give them an opportunity to make that manifest. You have to, allow a person an opportunity to make that manifest. So if you say, well, listen, I know you're in the street right now, but I know you have the potential to do some other things. And you might help him navigate and understand what he's able to do, because maybe he hasn't thought long-term in the future about what all he can do. You know, I know a young brother who cut people's hair just for fun because he loved doing it, but then he was in that street life and he was selling drugs. So he had a phenomenal woman. She came and said, listen, you cut hair. You're good at business. You're good in negotiation. Why don't you open up a shop cutting hair? He never even thought about that. He was just cutting hair because he liked to do it. All of his friends had beautiful cuts, you know. And when she came in and said, listen, I can help you on the business end because I'm good with marketing, you know. So why don't you get you a shop and come out of this street, because I'm afraid that one day you're going to end up going to jail. He thought about that. And because he knew that he wasn't alone, she said, well, wow, maybe she can handle the paperwork at home for me. I'm not good with paperwork, but I can cut hair. See, that woman took him, you know, from the beginning to the end. She took him to the next level. And we all know that our phenomenal president, Barack Obama, he always said he would not have been the man he was had he not had a phenomenal woman. So one of the important things to look for when you are selecting a mate, and I'm particularly talking to men now, is don't worry about the big booty. Don't worry about the breasts that go east and west right now. Do understand that eventually they will be going north and south. And so what you have to do is not worry about the big booty, worry about the big brain. Worry about picking a woman who could take the money that you make and actually budget it properly to make something happen. That's the kind of woman that can take you to the next level. Because there are a lot of men that say, well, you know, it takes so much money to make things happen nowadays. Not really. Because you got to tell that to all the single mothers who are out here raising families, buying homes, buying cars, and making it happen. What it takes is being reasonable, Maybe we don't need a 72-inch TV, okay, right now. Maybe we don't need a house with 4 bedrooms and 3 baths right now. That's learn to live within your means. So if you choose a woman who is astute with budgeting and managing the finances, then you could be the one to go out and make the money, and she can take it and make it work for you.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. And now let me ask you this, and kind of feeding off of that, and I'm sure you've heard the phrase that women typically date men that resemble their fathers and men typically date women that resemble their mothers. Since you've spoken to a lot of people, you've done a lot of work in the relationship field, from your research or from your experience, how much does home life play a role in who we end up with in life?
Woo! Hallelujah. That is a $1 million question. That is why the book was so important. That's why this workbook, which asks about your past, is so important. It's crucial. I tell people, please do not get married without that information, because we don't do the background and research. How a woman came up in her household is important. How a man came up in his household, that's important, because those things make him who he is today. All of these are pieces of the puzzle that you need. So you need to know if a man came up in a single-parent household. See, I was fortunate. I was blessed. I came up in a 2-parent household. My mother was a homemaker. My father was a businessman. All of my uncles were businessmen. All of them were self-employed. Nobody ever worked for anybody. And that's on both sides, my maternal and paternal sides of the family. All of my uncles were self-employed. So I was surrounded, fortunately for myself, around with men that were go-getters. They were about making it happen. I was surrounded with women who were homemakers, who were very nurturing, to make sure that when that man came home, he had peace and quiet of mind when he came in the door. So that is my personal upbringing. So that kind of is woven into my fiber. Now, for me, when I sought men, I definitely want a man who was going to be aggressive, make it happen, and who could financially support. Now, if I was dating a man or started dating a man and come to find out he was raised by just a single mother. He didn't have a father in the home. So he was used to his mother doing everything. His mother had to bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never let him forget he was a man, okay? Should have got 3 jobs like Jamaican, okay? She's out here working, bringing home the food, doing everything. So then that man is looking for me to do the same thing, because that's his point of reference. And the idea of him taking care of a woman or providing for a woman, he doesn't even know what that is, because he saw his mama do everything. You see what I'm saying? So that is going to dictate what he's looking for from you. If a woman came up in the house, see, I had my father in the house, so I was able to watch my mother take care of my dad. I was able to watch my mother put a plate of dinner in front of dad. I was able to watch my mother prepare his clothing so that when he went out, that he didn't have to worry about what he was going to wear that day. So I was able to see that. So by me having a father in the home and being able to watch my mother nurture the father, then that taught me something about how to do that. Now, if I had come in the home and I had no father figure in the home, then I wouldn't have been privy to some of the advice. You know, when a father is in the home with a woman, he's helping show that woman how a man should be, if he's a good father. Okay? So she is able to see a man go to work every day. So that's her point of reference. She's able to say, that man is able to say, now listen, you're valuable, and I protect you, and we're not going to have any guys coming in here trying to take advantage of my daughter. So I had that sense of protection. See, so you need to know the background. Did the girl have a father in the home? Does she even know how to treat a man? Did she learn some of those things? If she did, where did she get it from? And does the man have a point of reference? So that's why the background is so important. You know, we know how you're treating each other right now. But what's the background? What makes you believe that way? What makes you get to that point? So some people have a spiritual background. Some people were blessed to have mentors. Maybe they didn't actually have somebody in the house, but maybe somebody outside took them under their wing. There are plenty of women who had uncles or something like that who maybe took them under their wing and kind of protected them and looked out for the family, so they got a better idea of how to do things. So it's important to get that kind of background. Don't you think?
Yes, most definitely. I was going to say that's a very key phrase that you use as point of reference. I think that's a really good way to look at it because you're right, it does sort of shape that. And you said something else that I want to kind of touch on. You started to allude to it already. And as you know, I try to definitely make this specific to the black community as well, considering that the father role is very important role to a young girl who eventually becomes a grown woman and to a young boy who eventually becomes a grown man. Considering the rate of fatherless homes in the black community, how do we handle that? How do we deliberately go out our way to try to get those strong male examples?
Well, that's the major problem in the black community with relationships. We are destitute of good black male-female relationships because of the lack of fathers in the home. And it's only going to change when we start to build our communities by having nurturing fathers come back home. They're going to have to come back home. You can't raise a child long distance. You have to be local, baby. You need to be up in there knowing what's going on in their life. This thing, I'm a co-parent. You're going to co-parent from California? You know, you can't co-parent from California.
Right.
Child support is not what it takes to raise a child. Because if I go sit my baby out in the desert and stick a big old lump of money right in front of it, that's not going to feed them. That's not going to teach them. It's not going to walk them to school. It's not going to pick them up, and it's not going to help them get self-esteem. You have to be involved. And we've got to get back to a point when there used to be an integrity among our men to stay and raise their children up to adulthood and stop being so caught up in the self. Well, I'm not happy, so I'm just going to go. You're forgetting you're not just leaving the woman, you're leaving the children. You're leaving all that you had to invest in their life. And for the women who have already made the errors of not doing the background and not checking, and they find themselves single parents, we as men in our community have to take up other families. Listen, every guy, every black man knows a single woman on the block who has children. Hey, have you ever thought about going over and cutting the grass for her? Have you ever thought about helping her take the groceries in? Have you ever said, listen, I see you got a son here. How about I take your son to the movies next week? Or take him to a baseball game? We have to get involved with our community and look at it as a family and not this individualized way that we have become in the black community. It's all about me. It's about what I get, And the men, listen, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, I heard the quote, it's phenomenal. Wherever you find a no-good woman, you'll find a no-good man who made her that way. Wow.
Interesting.
That's deep. And that puts the onus and the responsibility on the men in the community as the leaders. You are the leaders, and you have to lead, and you have to take up some other responsibilities. When you see a woman, help her out. You see she has children, particularly sons. Because let me tell you something, that's why we have so much homosexuality in the black community among our black men. They have no fathers in the community. They have no men to emulate. When a young man comes into his puberty, he's not looking to copy his mama. He's looking to copy a man. He wants to walk like a man. He wants to talk like a man. He wants to present himself like a man. But yet he has no man in his sphere with which to communicate, connect with, or emulate. So that's why it's so important to have positive male role models, particularly black male role models for black men. So they can say, oh, that's what I need to do. Listen, we have plenty of black men who go to work every day, We have plenty of black men who are honest, who have loving families, and have wives that they're dedicated to. How many of us seek them out, and how many of those men reach back into the community and say, there's 2 or 3 boys on this block, I'm going to go take them with me and go take them roller skating. My father used to go and gather up lots of children every Saturday and take them up. Well, he just liked to be surrounded with children. That was just his thing. But, you know, he used to take other people's children by the truckload to the skating rink. And these children who were children of single parents, they looked forward every week to just going skating, just being around a man who could sit back and just watch them out there doing something. Children need that. And so the only way we're going to fix our community is for the men in the community to start taking ownership and responsibility for other people other than themselves. Anything else, we're going to be on a continued downward spiral. It is not cute to be single forever. It's not cute. Family is what it's all about. That's building your community. That's building your legacy. That's what family is. Not cute to make babies and say, I have 10, and you're supporting none. Or you're co-parenting long distance, absent parent with your 10 children. It's not cute. And we cannot let reality TV, we cannot let the powers that be that want to destroy the black community, we cannot let them win by promoting that type of behavior. It's not cute, it's not okay, and it's shameful. And we should be ashamed. It's not okay to say, yeah, I'm a bachelor. I'm 50 years old. I've been a bachelor all my life. Well, what does that mean? What that means is that you've never been challenged to greatness, because that's what a woman does. She challenges you to your greatness. She'll tell you in a minute, I know you think you're all that in the bag of chips, but, honey, you need to get that garbage out there. You know they're going to do that every Tuesday. You know, you want to show me how great you are? Brother, push a lawnmower. That's when I like to see some muscles pop. Push a lawnmower, make those muscles pop.
Make
that woman,
useful, right?
Hey, no, make yourself count. Make yourself. That's right. Let me see you doing something that changes my life for the better. And that's what women want. But what has happened in the black community, and this is the devastation, Rossi. The devastation is that because of the numbers, because the women outnumber the men so much that they've become desperate, and they have lowered their standards. And they have gotten this mentality of a piece of a man is better than none at all. I remember a lady I met, she was a much older lady. She said, piece of man better than none at all. And I said, what? She said, piece of man better than none at all. I thought she was talking about a pizza man, like a Domino's pizza delivery guy. She was saying, I can say a pizza man, I don't know if I want a pizza man. But she was saying a piece of a man is better than none at all. How much has she lowered her standards that she would take a piece or a semblance of a man? Because rather than be alone. Instead, sisters, raising your standards and making them live up to them. Because let me tell you something, a black man, he does what he wants to do. And there's nothing that can stop him from accomplishing something when it's on his mind to do it. So if you give him something to accomplish, he will do it. What has happened is the women have lowered their standards, so they don't even have anything to do. So they lower their standards, and so the man's standards come down. You raise yours, he's going to raise his. If you say, this is requirement for me. And see, we have to do that collectively, too, as women. We can't undercut each other. We can't say, well, she's worried about this, but he can come to my place and stay for free. One woman is saying, no, look, you're going to have to accomplish something. If you want to be with me, you have to find us a place to stay. We can't live in my mama's house. I want to be with you, brother, but this is something that you have to do for us so I can look at you with respect. Now, she's got standards. Another woman said, well, he can come to my house. You know, and it's in the now in our low state, the brother said, oh, it's easy. Oh, I can just go to her house, and I can live over there for free. Okay, so what that woman has done is what she has done, she has stopped that man from using his creative genius to find a way to get housing. She's just cut that off. Said, don't have to worry about getting a house. You can come to mine. And then he comes to her house. And then in a couple, 3 months, why you not doing nothing around here? Why you not? The rent is due. Why you? See, then now she's disgusted with him. Now, you invited him in. You let him be lazy. You call yourself winning him from the other woman. And now what do you have? You got a bum that you can't respect. You start talking to him disrespectfully. He tell you he's hungry. You tell him you know how to cook because you don't have respect for him. So you stopped him from doing the right thing, and then you want to get disgusted when he's doing the wrong thing. We have to collectively first, we have to all, as black people, we have to look at each other as our brother's keeper. We are responsible for other people. You have to look at that woman and say, I'm going to treat her the way I would want to be treated. I'm not going to take her man because I wouldn't want nobody taking mine. The brothers have to do the same thing. It's simple. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And then set standards. As a group, women, all of you set standards. Because if you stop making it so easy, the men will live up to your expectations. They got it in them. Hell, they built pyramids. We created the English language. We created hieroglyphics. We created the written language. We're the originators of medicine. There's nothing that we can't do. So why are you minimizing their efforts? Put something in front of them to accomplish. Because men are natural challengers. They want to accomplish something. They want to win. They're competitive. That's in their nature. And what has happened is in the black community, they've just started losing that. They've lost their ability to conquer. They don't even go after a woman for a date now. You know, with the computer, oh my goodness, they can meet anybody. They can go on Craigslist. They can go on Craigslist and get all the free booty they want. Hallelujah. But it's not the kind you can bring home to mama, number one. It's not the kind you can marry, number two. It's not the kind you can marry, It's not the kind you can marry and leave and go out of town for a week and worry about whether or not your best friend's coming over. See, so you get what you pay for. See, so you got to decide with the internet, like I said, it's the men desire to conquer. The art of pursuit has been lost, particularly in the black community. The art of pursuit. The brothers don't pursue. So they go on the internet, they think they're winning something, but they're not. They don't properly court and date a woman. You know, they'll tell a woman in a minute, meet me at so-and-so. Well, meet you. What happened to pick a woman up? What happened to create an environment that's conducive that says she can look at you with respect? You know, we're going to have a what they call a meet and greet. Women, I tell you, stop doing all these meet and greets. Don't do a meet and greet. Do a date. Because a brother can meet and greet 5 women that same day. You meet him at Starbucks, costs him $1.29 for a coffee. He sits there, enjoy your time for an hour, and then at 3 o'clock, he meets another woman off the internet for $1.29. Then at 5 o'clock, he's got another woman lined up. You know, it cost him $3.75. He met 3 women that day. Didn't cost him a thing. Yet, it still took you 2 hours to get dressed to look good to meet him for your $1 cup of coffee. You need to set some standards because, listen here, if you say, well, I'd love to talk with you, I hope, you know, you're hoping that he's going to initiate the date and ask you out to dinner. A man will invest in that thing that he's really concerned and cares about. So if he doesn't want to take you to dinner, then you're not a priority to him. He's not going to invest in you. He'll invest that $1 cup of coffee for a meet and greet. He could do that with 10 women. But the one he's really interested in, that's the one he'll take to dinner. And you've got to make yourself the one that he's willing to invest in. His time, his energy, his money. A man will invest in that which is important to him. But we've given it away. We're lowering our standards. And because we've lowered our standards, we're ruining the men. We have part and parcel to ruining the men. And men leaving their families, you're ruining generations by going out there looking for your own personal happiness and not thinking about the children that you've left behind. So
all right.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, that was good. That was good. And I want to feed off something that you said. You mentioned about, women lowering their standards. And considering that we have so many social issues in our community, a lot of times, because for such reasons as what you mentioned before, a lot of times people leave relationships damaged as an individual, and then they eventually try to get into a relationship that way. So what are some of the things that someone can do when coming out of a toxic relationship before bringing that extra baggage into a new relationship? Because as you mentioned earlier, that previous relationship also becomes their point of reference.
Absolutely. Whatever our traumas that we have suffered become part of our puzzle. And we all are, 1,000 pieces of a puzzle. And when the puzzle is put together, you see that whole picture. But you need to know what each piece of that puzzle is all about. And we have all suffered trauma. And we, particularly as black people, we coming in the world with trauma because there's something that's called cellular memory. From your cells. We have that slave trade and coming over the ocean and the hundreds of years of slavery, that's locked in our DNA, in our cells. That trauma, we're coming here with trauma, and we're not getting the help. We have to, before you start moving on to the next relationship, you have to understand how important it is to get some therapy and to get some help. And there are ways to get that out in the community, to get some help. Don't think that you've managed your trauma well just because you didn't have a nervous breakdown. Don't think you've managed your trauma well just because you're not an addict or you're not drinking or you're trying to numb your pain. All of these things that we take on and getting high and getting drunk and all that, if we're trying to numb some pain, we're trying to not live in that pain. We're trying to not feel it. And only by feeling it and working through it can you heal it. Numbing it is not going to do anything. Because when you're traumatized, you just pass it on. Okay? So we have to get the kind of help. We don't talk to people because we came up in a culture of what go on in the house stays in the house. So the women and the men who've been molested, who've been abused, who've been stood up, who've been hurt and battered, they live with that, and they take it, and then next thing you know, they're pushing that off on their new mate. And they don't even know why. Sometimes they're conscious of it, sometimes they're not. Listen, I got stood up for a date, prom, when I was about 15 or 16. And the prom date was, I think his name's, I can't even remember his name, but the prom date was my brother's friend. And this guy kept calling all day saying, I'm at the place to get the flowers. I'll be there. And I'm, you know, girls go through prom. They get their hair done, their nails done. You got your dress made. This is 100 years ago, of course. We did all, this big work. And I'm at the car place. I'm picking up the limo, blah, blah, blah. And he kept calling, and then it got later and later, and he never showed up. He stood me up. And, I cried. I just boo-hooed. I was just a basket case. And then my sister stopped by, and she was on her way to a drive-in movie. They had drive-ins back in that day. And she was on her way to a drive-in movie. She had a date. and the date's brother was with her. So she came in. She said, "What happened? It's here for a date." So she said, "Okay, I tell you what. Put the water on your face. Come on, go with us. We're gonna go to the drive-in." And so I got in the car, and we're riding down the street, and I look to my right, and I holler, "Stop the car!" And I go to leap out through the window of the car. Car's still rolling now. I'm jumping out through the window. I was much thinner then, and I could actually fit through a window. Not now. You don't have to worry about me jumping through no windows now. But back in the day, when I could fit through the window, I almost got through the window without for them catching me. And they stopped the car, and the guy who was supposed to have been taking me on the date was on the corner playing a game where they were pitching pennies. I don't know if you know about that. I'm from Chicago. They used to have lines in the sidewalk, and you had to pitch a penny, try and get it to land on the line in the sidewalk. He's on the corner pitching pennies. He never intended on taking me to his prom. All of that was a lie. And that trauma stayed with me for 25 years. From then on, every time I went on a date, I would never get dressed for the date until the man would show up at the door. I'd go ahead and put a little makeup on because I could just wash my face and get that off. I might do a little something to my hair, but I would lay out my clothes, and I would not put my clothes on for 25 years after that because I had been traumatized. And so I relived it every time I was going to go on a date. He might not show up. He might not come. I'm not going to get all ready and be disappointed. Look at the damage that one thing did and how it impacted my life moving forward. The lack of trust, the worry that this was going to occur again. And I saw the guy at my father's repast, and I was like, "That's the guy that stirred me up." And I'm charging out to go take his head off. And my brothers and everybody's grabbing me. 25 years later, wow. I'm ready to go take this dude's head off because he stood me up for the prom when he was dumb and stupid and probably didn't know any better. I don't know what his life is now, but I didn't care. I just wanted to take his head off. That was going to be my vengeance, right. Because I had lived with this trauma for so many years. And I ended up doing something. I ended up getting introduced to a technology called auditing, Dianetics auditing. And then I started getting some auditing and some help with my traumas. And so I was able to get over that. But for many years, for 25 years, I suffered from that. And that's just one thing. That's just one incident. So we have people who suffer all types of traumatic incidents, deaths in the family, divorce, loss of a job, depression. You're going through things, and we as black people, we just tend to kind of push it down, and we think we manage it, but we're not managing it. And the proof that we're not managing it is that we don't have healthy, happy relationships. We don't have healthy, happy homes. We don't have this abundance of families that stick together. We've got all this blended family and mixing up all the children from the last marriage and the last divorce, and we have all of this. This is the proof that we are damaged and we need help. So we have to start by actually saying, well, what went on in the past is not going to be a secret anymore. It's the secrets that destroy us. Internally, they destroy us. So we have to say, I'm not going to let it be a secret. And it's okay to express what happened to you. That's part of the therapy. Because you're thinking that it only happened to you. And that's why I wrote the book. Because in the front of the book, I talked about my 4 marriages. That's right, 4. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, 4. I talked about it in the first part of the book. That was part of my therapy, getting that out. This is the mistake I made here. This is the mistake I made there. And by talking about it, getting it out, and recognizing and taking ownership for some of the things that I did not do, because I can always point the finger and say, well, that one was, lousy, and this one was abuser, and this one was a drug addict. I can point the finger, but you have to look at where is my responsibility. I did not get the background. I did not get the information. I did not take the proper amount of time to learn who this person was. Because back in my day, 100 years ago, women just were supposed to just get married. And you were in a rush just to be married. And that was important, just being married, but not actually getting the quality of person that you need. Now, I still say that marriage is important because marriage is a commitment, it's a responsibility, and it is saying that not only the legal part of it, but it is saying that you two are deciding that you're going to be together. So marriage is extremely important, but it's not more important than getting to know the person you're going to marry just for the sake of marriage. You want to get to know that person. So I said, 300 questions is only the beginning, of getting to know somebody, but the important thing is that you're getting it down in writing in this workbook set so that you can refer back to it later. There are questions in here that people never think of asking, like on page 61 in the section about sex, what kind of role do you like to play? Do you like to be the one in control, or do you like being controlled? There are questions in here about your past. Have you ever been raped? Have you ever been molested? How many times have you been with someone? Have you ever asked them that question? Think about that you're dating somebody. Now, here you are talking about sharing your life with somebody, sharing everything that's important to you, your money, your past, your children, everything that's important to you, your body fluids, and you know really nothing about them. So it's important to get that kind of information out. Has a person ever had sex with somebody of the same sex? Do they have a plan? There's a section in the book on finance. What's the plan? How much money do you spend? What do you think things cost? There's a section in my book, and man, when I do seminars with couples, oh my goodness, this is always a point. There's a section in the book where the man has to write out what he thinks everything is going to cost. And the woman, in her book, she writes out whatever she thinks. And then when they trade the books, it's never the same. It's never the same. Men, they might be kind of close on what kind of rent they're going to spend and what they think the utilities are going to cost, but men never include toilet paper, soap powder, paper towels, things that cost them. They never include that in the budget for running the house, okay? Women might be including things like the hair, the nails, and stuff like that. Men don't even include their haircuts. They actually get haircuts and pay for them. They don't even include those. These are extra costs. And when they trade the books with each other and they look at the budget, they're like way off. Well, those are things you need to talk about and come to an agreement about before you move forward. You need to come to an agreement about how we're going to raise the children. Are we going to send somebody to private school, public school, all of that.
No,
if you're going to buy a car, yeah.
Those are some really good points for us to look at. I was going to say that, I know we were talking about social issues, but, yeah, one of the biggest things that affects our social issues is a lot of times our economic issues. And, for example, as you know that, money, economics is a very important part of any relationship, especially as you get older. One of the challenges that plagues our community is a lot of women in the black community, thanks to preferential hiring, incarceration of black males, negative images of black males, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of times women typically are more financially stable than a lot of men, so they struggle to find a lot of black men with resources. So considering that money is such an important part of a relationship, and, of course, no woman wants a man that she feels she has to take care of it or what have you, as you mentioned before, how should black women handle this epidemic as a whole as they're out there in the dating pool?
Well, when I interview thousands of women, and I've done it in order to get the book together. I'm writing a new book now that's getting ready to come out called The Black Man's Guide to Dating, Tips to Take You from Ordinary to Extraordinary. And it calls me to have to interview over 1,000 women in regard to what they're looking for, what's important to them, what mistakes are made in the dating process. And one of the things that men have to understand is that no woman wants a man complaining that he can't make any money. She doesn't want to hear that. And I tell men, stop asking a woman for some money. Because the minute you do it, I want you to picture this cartoon. I want you to picture this big, strong man walking up to his woman and saying that, you know, he needs $25. Immediately, he gets shrunk and reduced to a little boy who's sticking his hand out looking for an allowance. That's how the woman views him, because she's looking at him to be the provider. And he's coming up saying, Mama, can I have some money? And that weakness, and it disgusts her. It disgusts her, because initially she's looking for the man to be a provider. Listen, when my brother asked my daddy for $20 to go take his girlfriend to the movie, he said, hold on 1 minute. So I had these 4 brothers. My dad went out. He was gone a couple hours. He came back. He had 4 ladders, 4 shovels, 4 buckets, and rags. And he had put each one of my brothers' name on each one of the buckets and the ladders, you know. And he said, okay, sons, come out here. And I was able to watch this. He said, okay, now, you know, Buster asked me for $20 to take his girlfriend. This is what I did. I went and got each one of you a ladder. He said, now, in the fall, when the leaves fall, you can get up in people's houses and you can go and pull the leaves out of the gutter. And you can earn some money that way with this ladder. He said, now, with this shovel in the wintertime, you can shovel snow. He said, and with this bucket and rags in the summer and the spring, you can wash cars in the summer, and you can wash windows in businesses in the spring. He said, now, I have given you the tools with which to make your own money. He said, because if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And they have never had to be out of work. They can go and make your own money. We don't see our black men out here pushing lawnmowers, cutting grass. We don't want to get our hands dirty anymore. We're too fine. We're too cute. You know, that's beneath me. But you want to blame the woman for working, because the woman doesn't have that option. She's got children. She can't say, well, ain't no jobs out here. I don't have no money. She got to go and make it happen so that those children eat. Her determination, her creative juices have to flow to make it happen. And the men are not using their creative juices. Where are the bricklayers? Where are the lawn men? I saw 2 guys sitting down. My daughter was at her place trying to push a lawnmower across the grass. 2 guys sitting across the street. They want her phone number. You're sitting on your butt watching a woman push a lawnmower, and you got the nerve to ask for a phone number? How about you get up and push the lawnmower? See, so, you know, where are the men pushing a lawnmower? Where are the men who used to be at the grocery store who would take your groceries and put them in and you tip them? They have some work to be done. There's labor out here, but you don't want to labor. You've gotten lazy. See, so there is no excuse for brothers being broke, because there's too many lawns out here need to be cut. There's too many gutters out here need to be cleaned. There's too much trash that needs to be emptied. There's too much labor that the men can do if you will put your pride aside and stop letting your ego be bigger than the whole rest of you, and get out there and make it happen. Be a make-it-happen man. Overcome obstacles. Knock down excuses. Because that's the kind of man that a woman wants. She don't want to hear your excuses. She wants to see you overcome obstacles. That's how you gain the black woman's respect. And when you have her respect, you can have her love. You will have her dedication, and you will have a family that can grow into oneness. And then when you're old, you and your wife can sit on the front porch in rocking chairs and grow old together, and have your grandchildren around you. That's really what it's all about. But you got to put down the excuses and make something happen. Pick up a bucket, brother. Pick up a shovel. Get a ladder. Go out here and look around. How can I earn some legitimate money today? And stop falling victim to the powers that be that want you to think that there's no other way for you to do it other than illegally, so they can get you in jail and work you for free for the next 20 or 30 years. free. See, you didn't mind, you had too much of an ego to get on the ladder, but you don't have too much of an ego not to go to jail. You don't have too much of an ego to have, an ego? Where's your ego when you got to bend over and spread your cheeks for the white guard that's standing behind you, that's going through your cracks and crevices looking for contraband? Where's your ego then? See, drop your ego, get up on the ladder, brother, and make the money happen. Stop looking to the woman to be the provider. That's not her role. Her role is a comforter for you. Her role is to challenge you to greatness. Let her get in her role. And the only way she can get in her role is for you to get in yours. It begins with you as the man. You're the leader of the family. Make it happen. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, no, that's good. And I was actually going to, because there's something you said in that, I want to continue it because it was a really good response to that, and just kind of continue with some of these scenarios. But let's say the man is in a relationship where, let's say he is making money, but let's say the woman happens to make way more than him, and maybe they really love each other, but maybe he's not totally comfortable with let's say, a weird power, what he feels a weird power dynamic. Is it egotistical for him to think that way? Does he say, hey, we need to go earn more money, otherwise we're not considered equally yoked? Or how should the man handle that particular scenario?
Well, there are situations where women are making more than the men. But what you have to do is find a way to be indispensable to that woman. Okay? In this day and time, you've got women out there who are corporate executives, but they don't want the man that's sitting at home just taking up the money. Are you helping her with marketing her business? Are you helping her with comforting her, even though that's a role reversal? She's the provider, now you the comforter, instead of her being the comforter and you being the provider. This role reversal is what's taking us so far back. But a man has to be indispensable. And I tend to wonder, how are you indispensable? If she's making the money and you're not really making the money, then how have you become indispensable to her? What are you doing? Don't tell me about sex, please. Because a woman can get as much sex as she wants. All she got to do is put on some lipstick and go to the club. Okay? It doesn't say she might not even have to put on some lipstick. So, a woman can get all the sex she wants. So don't think you laying it down and that's your input. I like the way I put that. Laying it down, input, get it. Anyway, that's not it. You have to be indispensable to her in a number of areas so that she can look at you with the respect. What you don't want is for your woman to lose respect. You don't want that. So that's why you get the book. It's called Before You Say I Do, His and Hers by General Hafisa. And in that book, it's going to have you write out all of this information. What's important to you? How do you feel about your mate? You got to write a love poem to your mate. You got to talk about sex in it. You got to go over the financial history. You're going to go over your past. You're going to go over your medical history, and you're going to put it all in writing. And then the pink book that's for the female, she's going to write it out. The blue book that's for the male, he's going to write everything out. And then after it's completed, you're going to trade the books with one another. And you're going to sit in the quiet of your home, Rossi, and you're going to look through her pink book, and you're going to read her answers to all of these questions, and you're going to have a chance to digest it. We're going to take the emotionalism out of it, and we're going to go with practicality. We're going to talk about practical things. We're going to talk about legal things. And you're going to look it over, and then you're going to say, wow, ooh, look what she said on page 98. I need to highlight this and talk to her about this later. Things like, are we going to have a joint bank account? Are the bills going to be paid? Who's going to pay the bills? Who's going to manage the money? A lot of people don't talk about those things. How do you feel about mail? How do you feel about opening each other's mail? How do you feel about having access to social media accounts? Should I keep a Facebook account after I get married? How do you feel about that? See, we don't talk about things like that. That's right. Very good question. Because a lot of people fall out over that. We married now. You got a Facebook account. You don't even say you married on your Facebook account.
Right,
You're talking about it's complicated. Right. It's complicated. It's complicated. You damn right it's complicated. It's going to be complicated tonight when you start touching me in my back at 3 o'clock in the morning. See, that's why you got to discuss this stuff ahead of time, and so that you can sit down and come to agreement. You go on the book, you highlight the things you need to talk about, and then you sit down and you communicate. And you say, well, let's do this. And then later on, you have the book as a point of reference. You can say, honey, remember you told me you could cook. What's going on here? You know?
Right.
You said you could cook. That question's in here. Writing, right? It's in writing. It's in writing. And you shouldn't be afraid to do it because you're talking about sharing your life together. You should get the background. Do you realize that you can go into a bank and that banker has more information about your mate than you do? They'll have their Social Security number, the last places they lived, and 3 references. And you won't have any of that. You don't even do a credit check on the person you're getting ready to marry. You don't even know what that credit score is. But that's going to affect you when you get married. You don't know if they owe child support. But that's going to affect you after you get married. You don't know their feelings, and if you're doing like some people do, where they're living in accordance with a particular religion and they don't have sex before marriage and everything, so they haven't had the opportunity to even see how a person is in the bedroom, and you don't even discuss the sex. Hey, you need to do that. There's questions in there, page 59. Do you like oral sex? Do you like anal sex? You need to be talking about that stuff. You can't be too squeamish because this is the kind of stuff that's going to come up in the marriage. And you're going to have problems with either sex, or it's going to be money, or it's going to be family history. So get it all out because it's better, to pay $49.99 up front than $3,000 later for a divorce attorney.
No, that's good. Those are good points. And you mentioned practicality, and I agree. Practicality is really important. So I do have a rather practical question for you, too. As you know, most, especially black women, they prefer to sort of date inside of their race. And however, when it comes to the ratio of women to men, which you kind of mentioned earlier, particularly when it comes to, as they say, qualified men, those that are employed, not in jail, not on drugs, whatever the case may be, the women sort of greatly outnumbered the men. I think I read a ratio one time, let's say it was 10-1 or something of that nature. What about those other 9 women? Do they just go without a mate? I mean, how do we handle that as a community?
That's an excellent question. How do we handle that? Because the numbers don't add up to every black woman being able to even have a black man. It's not realistic. Every woman cannot have her own black man. Some communities, when there has been a decimation of males due to war in the past, that's where polygamy came from. It came from the decimation of the males in the community, and women needed to be provided for and supported, so men were allowed to have more than one wife. But it wasn't supposed to be that you go out and get you a bunch of virgins and have a harem. It was supposed to be that you're taking on a wife, a widower, and an orphan. So because the lesser of 2 evils was to take on a second wife with her children who the man was lost to war, and to provide for them so that she would not have to go and prostitute herself to feed her children. So it was in hundreds of years in the past, or thousands of years in the past, it was the lesser of 2 evils, but it was an evil. You understand? So polygamy became an order in many places to provide for the woman and children so that they would not have to prostitute themselves. And in today's community, black women are marrying outside of their race in order to have somebody rather than go alone and be alone for the rest of their life. And it's an issue of belief on how people believe about that. Whether or not they think it's a good thing to blend with other nationalities and races and ethnicities. What happens when we cross these ethnicities? What other issues are we bringing? And what new issues are we bringing? when a black woman can marry a white man, but he has a culture. He has a culture that he's bringing to that relationship that's totally different from yours, And so now we have some new issues that we have to deal with. And so it's difficult because the black women do way outnumber. And with our men turning to homosexuality at tremendous numbers, and all these TV shows are making it look like it's okay, and they putting our black men in dresses, and makeup, and we got TV shows promoting it, and we got the rappers promoting it. And this is an evil that is crossing across the globe, and they're trying to make evil seem fair seeming. It's like it's okay. And this is, and while this is going on, this is disseminating the numbers in the black community. And you see way more television programs where they got black men in dresses than you do white men. Where are all those programs? Look at all these programs where they have black women being ratchet and fighting each other, cussing each other out. You did this and you did that, and they got the women fighting each other. Where are the white programs like that? Where are the white women cat fighting and cussing? Where are the TV programs where every time you turn around, you go on social media and black women are taking pictures of what they're doing? They're sticking their butt out. They're showing you their booty. Where are all the pictures of the white women doing that? See, let me tell you something. They're going to make sure that their white women is not reduced in your eyesight. They're not going to allow those TV programs out there where the white women are acting ratchet. They're not going to have it because they're going to keep that white woman as looking like a queen and to be revered and respected. And we as a black community should not be supporting programs that make us look so bad. We should not be watching them. We should not be supporting the advertisers that think that this is okay, because this disseminates our respect factor all across the land. We got one guy that has a internet show where all he does is call black women ratchet and skanks and low down. And I'm wondering, how is he able to leave his house and go to Walmart shopping and nobody approach him and say, what are you doing for the image of our black women? What do you think you're doing? We allow this as our community. We need to take this up ourselves and say, no, brother, you can't do that. You can't be talking about, there's no white man out who's got a TV show where he talks about white women. I dare you to find it. His whole show is built on bringing down and disrespecting the white woman. Go get it. I dare you. See, we allow this to happen. We need to stop it. Because as long as we look like we have no value, then that's why it's okay to kill us. Because it looks like you're not doing anything but getting rid of a scourge in the community. Our image has to be improved. Say that again?
No, it definitely does. And I was going to say you're right, because media definitely has a big influence on culture. And I was going to ask you this as one of my last questions before we wrap this up. With that being said, how do you feel about modern-day feminism? Do you think it has a positive or negative impact?
Well, I support feminism in the fact that I think that there should be equal pay for equal work. You know, that's just fairness. That doesn't need the name of feminism. Okay? Right. Feminism doesn't necessarily have to be a bad word, but the way that it was portrayed is that, you know, we didn't need the men and we could just do this ourselves. And like I said, that commercial they used to have with, you know, bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan, and never let us forget it, man. And then that became okay. We started thinking that was okay for us to be it all, do it all, like we can have it all, and we don't need a man. That's not true. You need a man. A man needs a woman. That's called balance. The universe is based on balance, yin and yang, male and female, masculine energy and feminine energy. Okay? Two women together, I'm sorry. That other woman don't equal a man. Two women don't equal one man. Four women don't equal one man. A man is a man. And I don't care how much lipstick that brother's wearing, he don't equal a woman. He can't bring that. You can mock it, okay, but you are not a woman. You need balance in this universe. So that is a big problem. The programming, bad. We shouldn't support the program. And we've got to stay focused on keeping balance in our community and in our family, and not supporting those things that degrade us and put us down. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I know that's right. Now, I want to ask you this just to kind of wrap this up. I know you've talked about it a little bit throughout it, but could you tell us a little bit more about your book as far as what's in it, why it's important? Then also, if somebody wants to get a copy of your book or get in touch with you, where could they get more information about it?
Well, it's called Before You Say I Do, His and Hers. There's 2 separate workbooks. One is pink, one is blue. You can go on Amazon and get it. Just type in General Hafizah. Before You Say I Do, Hers, or Before You Say I Do, His. I have a website, www.generalhafizah.com. That's General. And Hafizah is 8 letters, Hafeezah. So you can go to generalhafizah.com, and you can obtain the book there. What the book has, like I said, it is a workbook. This is not something you just sit and read. This is something you put your soul into. And you get the pink for yourself as if you're a woman that's ordering it, and let the man get the male book, and you sit down, you write this stuff out. It's kind of a self-counseling. You're able to do it, the 2 of you yourself, some type of premarital self-counseling that you're able to do, because you're going to get some facts, you're going to write this stuff out, then you're going to give your man the book, and he's going to get your book, and he's going to sit down without the emotionalism, without your big old fat juicy leg thrown across his side where he can't reason right. He's going to be able to look and see what you have to say about different things. And then he can make notes and say, well, we need to talk about this, honey. You know, we need to talk about how we're going to do the money, how we're going to navigate through this money, my feelings about it, how we're going to raise the children. You know, we need to discuss those things and come to agreement. Then you have it in writing. And then later on, you can refer back to what you said in writing. Remember, honey, we had an agreement, you know, that we were going to put this money in a joint account and all the bills are going to be paid out of it or whatever, or I was going to pay the bills because I'm better at budgeting. Remember, we discussed that. Here it is, right on page 55. Remember, you wrote this. You said, da-da-da-da. That helps keep the drama down. And that helps keep some people saying, I didn't say that, or you misunderstood. It's in writing. You know, it's like almost like a prenuptial agreement. You're getting it in writing. And you need to do background checks on your person before you get married. You need to know their credit history. The man at the bank does not need to know more about your fiancé than you do. And if you're not ready to share that kind of information, then you're not ready to get married. Because eventually you're going to share everything. So if you're thinking about getting married, this is the kind of stuff you need to share. Get all that stuff out on the table. So that's what I think should be done quickly, and I don't think anybody should get married without it. And also, seek some counseling or coaching. I do Dianetics auditing myself. I also get audited with Dianetics. You can look that up on the Internet. But I get some help with all the traumas that I've suffered over the years. And it's an ongoing process. And everybody has suffered trauma. You know, you have suffered trauma. Children got bullied in school have suffered trauma that has you reacting and acting a certain way moving forward because you might have gotten bullied in school. We all have suffered trauma, and we need to seek some help. Get some help about that. Get some therapy. Talk to somebody about it so that you can get that out so that you don't carry that into the relationship you're with and have that other person suffering for your past trauma. That's essential. So getting the workbook set is essential to getting things out in writing and getting facts, and getting therapy is essential so that you can take care of your emotional well-being. So now you've got your legal well-being taken care of and your emotional well-being taken care of. Your psychological and your spiritual well-being, those are things that you can talk about and come to an agreement with so that you're a whole person coming into this marriage and not a broken. And this is another thing I tell you about, and it's in the book. If they got an ex an ex-wife, ex-husband, talk to them. Get some information. It's a small piece of the puzzle, but it's still a piece of the puzzle. You need to know what the ex had to say. Of course, there's two sides to every story, but we need to know what other information. It's just like references. When you get ready to go buy a car, don't they want references? You know, when you go get a job, don't they ask you for references? You know, you can't say, I don't want you digging in talking to my friends. I don't want you talking to people I know. You can't tell an employer that. So you have to give up those references and let the people do the background and trust that whatever you are today and whatever you're showing yourself to be will be greater than whatever negative reference you got in the background, if you think that's what's in the background. Be better than your negative reference. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
All right. No, thank you for this interview. I really appreciate the insight you brought, the passion. I think you had some really great information. And, you know, like I said, you know, the key to restoring the black family, we got to start with restoring black relationships. So I love the fact that you have a book that kind of helps us identify, you know, what's really going on with the other person. Once again, I don't think that's something that's been done or been seen. So I do want to encourage everybody that's listening to this interview, please definitely check out General Hafizah, check out her workbooks. I think it'll save you a lot of time, headache, and stress when you're out there dealing with individuals and looking for mates. So thank you very much.
That's right. And go to my website, and here's my email address, therelationshipguru@generalhafizah.com. therelationshipguru@generalhafizah.com. Go, and you can send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please, when you're supposed to, put some comments down. Let's hear about what you have to say. And let's talk about, you know, I'm bringing my book. You have an event coming up next week at the museum.
Yes, the Black Wall Street event. Yes.
Exactly. And they might need the address for that, but let's talk about that because I will be there with the book, and people can bring their point of view or whatever right to the museum coming up next week as well.
Yes, that'd be great. For those listening, we do a Black Wall Street event. We offer free vending, free business showcase. General Hafizah will be there in all of her glory, showcasing us some of her relationship guru advice as well as her workbook. So we do want to encourage individuals to check that out as well at RestoreBlackAmerica.org. So thank you very much.
RestoreBlackAmerica.org. I love it. Thank you, Rossi. I love the work that you're doing. It's phenomenal. It's so needed in our community. And these are the types of things that we should join. These are the type of programs and events we should be attending so that we can navigate through all of the mess and come together as a community. I love what you're doing. You're supporting black businesses, and we need to support each other because everybody else supports their community. Am I right?
That's right.
We're the only ones that are, you know, we're separated. So let's come together. I'll see you at the event. Please, everybody, come on down to the event and all of the wonderful Black Wall Street events that are going on currently here in Atlanta. Love you. May God bless you and never keep you. Thank you for the interview. I sure appreciate it, Rossi.
Thank you. You too. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Rossi Eason, founder of the Restore Black America Foundation and author of the Restore Black America book. And you know how this whole thing came about, man, is real interesting. Years ago, I had a friend of mine introduce me to something called the Willie Lynch Letter. And if you don't know what that is, it was actually a transcript of a speech given at a slave owners convention. And it talked about how to control black people, not through force, but through psychology, talking about putting old against young, light skin against dark skin, male against female. And it pretty much outlines all of the problems that we have today. So when I read this plan and I said, If this is a plan to destroy black people, if I reverse engineer this, could we create a plan to rebuild the black community? Hence the term Restore Black America. So this book is actually broken down into a 6-step action plan that outlines a restoration process for the next 100 years. Those 6 steps are culture, economics, family, politics, health, and spirituality. And the way the whole premise goes is that this letter was actually written in 1712, and it said that if you actually put this plan in place, that you'll be able to control black people for the next 300 years. 2012 was actually the end of that 300-year mark. When I wrote this book, it came out in 2013, which is the first year after that 300-year mark. I founded the Restore Black America Foundation as a way to actually implement this 100-year plan. Not only to give people the information, but the actual tools in order to make a change. So basically what I've done is put this book together in a 100-year plan for the black community. Restore Black America is more than just a book. It's more than just a foundation. It's an entire movement sweeping across the black community. So be sure to stay tuned for our documentary as we outline the 6-step action plan for restoring Black America and taking our culture back. Holla.